Hello dear viewers and subscribers of the channel. Today is October 17th, 2025, and this is a brief overview of the battlefield map. As of today, there have been minor changes in the Zaporizhzhia direction near Stepnohorsk and Primorske. There are also major developments in the southern Donetsk sector. Slight adjustments have been recorded in the Pokrovsk direction and along the Doorilia salient. Significant changes have appeared on the Kostiantynivka front. As for the Siversk direction, there have been small territorial gains in favor of the Russian army. Updates have also arrived from the Kupansk area, where fighting continues in the city center. According to the latest information, Russian forces have expanded their zone of control in central Kupansk. Regarding the Kharkiv direction near Vchansk, as well as the Sunumi axis near Alexevka and Orikiv, the front remains stable there, with ongoing clashes along the entire line of contact. We'll take a closer look at these directions a bit later, and as always, we'll start our review from the south and move northward. But before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos, and always stay up to date with the latest events and developments. Let's begin with the Zaporizhzhia direction. Today, new reports have emerged indicating that Russian forces have expanded their zone of control in the area between Stepnohorsk and the southern outskirts of Primorske. At present, part of the forest belts, agricultural fields, and suburban Dacha settlements are now under the control of the Russian armed forces. Fighting in this area continues, with the main thrust directed toward Primorske, where active clashes are currently taking place. The situation in Stepnohorsk itself remains tense. Battles are ongoing on the southern, eastern, and western outskirts of the town. No fresh official updates have been released so far, but heavy combat continues, and we are closely monitoring the situation in this sector of the front. Now we move to the southern Donetsk direction, specifically the area of Poltavka. According to new reports, the Russian army has expanded its zone of control within the settlement itself. Unconfirmed sources suggest that most of Poltavka has already been cleared and is under Russian control. At this moment, fighting continues on the northwestern outskirts of the village. The information still requires official verification, which is expected in the coming days. Meanwhile, some independent cartographic sources have already marked Poltavka as under Russian control on their maps, indicating significant changes along the line of engagement. If we zoom out and look at the front line along the Yampole River, we can see that the settlements of Novovasilivske and Okhotnichi were cleared by Russian troops several days ago and are now fully under their control. Active fighting continues in the areas of Novonikolaivka and Pavlivka. Confirmed data indicate that Russian units have secured positions at key points and are advancing toward Novonikolaivka and Novouspenivka. These areas currently see some of the fiercest fighting. FPV drone units are also regularly striking Ukrainian positions in the settlements of Privolne, Pavlivka, Uspenivka, and Novonikolaivka. In addition, Russian forces are maneuvering around Novonikolaivka through forest lines and open fields, advancing toward the southern outskirts of the settlement. If we move further north toward Verbov, Vishnev, and Privolne, new developments are also reported there. According to unconfirmed information, Russian units advanced from Verbov toward Privolne and secured positions near the Yampole River. Based on recent updates, fighting is currently ongoing on the northern outskirts of Privolne, while Russian forces are also advancing toward Vishnev from the south through wooded areas. The offensive continues along the road connecting Verbov and Vishnev, where FPV drone operators are actively striking Ukrainian positions. Although some sources claim that these territories have already been fully cleared and are under Russian control, it is still too early to make definitive conclusions. We are awaiting confirmed data in the next few days, after which this direction can be analyzed in greater detail. Now let's turn our attention to Alexeyevka. As of yesterday, this settlement has been completely cleared and is firmly under Russian control. Ukrainian forces were pushed out and retreated northward into the surrounding forest belts and open fields. At present, fighting continues to the north and partially to the west of Alexeyevka, where remnants of Ukrainian troops are still active. As for Novoalexandrovka, there are no clear updates yet. It remains uncertain whether Russian forces have begun advancing from Alexeyevka in that direction. However, reports indicate that FPV drone units are frequently striking Ukrainian positions within Novoalexandrovka. Moving northeast toward Novopavlivka, according to the latest data, Russian forces continue to expand their control zone. The pocket of territory between the road connecting Novopavlivka and Dakhne has come fully under Russian control. Clearing operations of the remaining defensive positions are ongoing in this area. Overall, the territory stretching from Orikiv to Dakhne is under Russian control. The front line here is stabilizing as Russian forces consolidate their positions. Active fighting continues north of Orikiv, near Muravka, where Ukrainian units still hold out in forest belts and fields. In Novopavlivka itself, the situation remains relatively calm, with FPV drone strikes being the main form of engagement against Ukrainian positions. The main phase of the battle is now concentrated in the aforementioned pocket, where Ukrainian fortifications and trenches are located. The situation remains fluid, and additional details on Russian progress are expected soon. Now we move to the Pokrovsk direction, directly toward the city itself. According to the latest updates, Russian forces have expanded their zone of control. The entire designated area has been completely cleared and is now under Russian army control. Previously, this sector contained Ukrainian fortifications and trench systems, from which counterattacks were being launched toward Pokrovsk and Russian positions. However, recent information confirms that Russian troops have expelled Ukrainian units from these residential areas and secured them. Currently, the western part of Pokrovsk is under full Russian control. Furthermore, the E50 highway leading to Pokrovsk has been completely cut off, meaning Ukrainian forces can no longer use it for logistics or supply runs. The Ukrainian army now has only two remaining supply routes, one through Hryshyn and another through Rodinske. Russian forces are actively advancing toward the supply road from Hryshyn, while the route through Rodinske remains under heavy Russian fire control. Fighting continues around these supply lines, particularly in the surrounding fields and wooded areas. Inside Pokrovsk itself, combat remains intense. Clashes are ongoing in the central and southern districts of the city. South of Pokrovsk, around Novopavlivka, the territory has been fully secured by Russian troops. Heavy fighting is now reported in the area of Suky Yar, with Russian forces continuing their advance toward Hanativka and Ro. The situation in this sector remains highly dynamic, and we continue to monitor developments closely as new reports of Russian progress emerge. And now let's move toward the direction of Myrnohrad. As of today, the settlements of Balahan and Kazatske are completely under the control of the Russian army, and the control zone currently looks approximately like this. As for the village of Promin, there have been no significant changes there. Fighting continues both on the outskirts and within the settlement itself, though no new official information about Promin has yet been received. We continue monitoring developments. The Russian army is also carrying out offensive actions on the eastern and southeastern outskirts of Myrnohrad. In the northeastern and northern parts of the city, battles are taking place near residential areas. Russian units have established positions there, and fighting is now ongoing directly within the urban area. FPV drone units are also launching strikes on Ukrainian positions inside Myrnohrad itself. Let's move a bit northwest on the map, toward Rodinske and Krasny Lyman. As of now, the control zone in favor of Russian forces looks as follows. All these territories have been cleared and are fully under Russian control, including Krasny Lyman. Active combat continues on the southern, eastern and northern outskirts of Rodinske. The settlement itself is quite large, and fighting is concentrated mainly on its outer edges. Intense battles are also taking place near the supply road leading from Rodinske to Pokrovsk, though no new information about the road itself has yet been received. We continue following developments in this direction and awaiting fresh updates. Next, we move to the Doorilia salient. According to the latest data, the settlements of Nikonarivka, Ivanivka, Novoshakova, and Volne have been completely cleared and are under Russian control. The control zone in this area currently appears as follows. Russian forces have advanced toward the settlement of Dorozhne and established positions on its northern outskirts, where fighting is now underway. It can be confidently stated that Predtekin is fully under Russian control, and offensive actions continue toward Kostiantynivka. According to unconfirmed reports, fighting has already reached the outskirts of residential areas. though we await official confirmation in the coming days. Now let's move on to the Siversk direction. But first, we'll take a look at the situation near Novomarkov and Myrnohrad. The Russian army has expanded its control zone toward Novomarkov and continues advancing toward both Novomarkov and Markov. Around Myrnohrad, the control zone looks approximately like this. All these territories have been cleared. Fighting also continues on the southeastern outskirts of Orikiv and Alexevka, and FPV drone strikes are being carried out on Ukrainian positions in the settlements of Markova, Novomarkov, and Orikiv and Alexevka. Now let's move further along the Siversk axis towards Zvanovka. Fresh information indicates that Russian forces have expanded their control zone from the direction of Vyimka. This section of territory has been cleared and is now under Russian control. It has also been reported that Russian units have reached the southwestern outskirts of Zvanovka and secured positions near the Bakhmutivka River. At the moment, the control zone in this sector looks as follows. All these territories are under Russian control. From Vyimka, offensive operations towards Zvanovka are ongoing, and the remaining pocket of territory is gradually being cleared. FPV drone operators continue striking Ukrainian positions inside Zvanovka. We are closely monitoring developments in this area and awaiting further updates on territorial changes and troop movements. Now, let's move westward on the map toward the settlement of Yampole. New information confirms an expansion of the Russian control zone there. The entire forested area has been cleared and is under Russian control. Fighting continues in the center of Yampole as Russian forces push deeper into the settlement. To the north, offensive operations are ongoing to outflank the area, with battles currently taking place northwest of Yampole, where Ukrainian fortifications and trench lines are located. We continue to monitor this sector and await new updates on the progress of Russian forces. Next, we move to the Kupansk direction. According to the latest reports, the Russian army has expanded its zone of control within Kupansk. As of yesterday, the control line looked as follows. The northwestern outskirts of the town had been cleared and were under Russian control, while a portion of residential blocks remained held by Ukrainian forces. However, updated and confirmed information today indicates that this residential area has now been fully cleared and taken under Russian control. Offensive operations are continuing deeper into Kupansk from the northeast and the north, with battles now taking place in the city center. Zooming out slightly, new reports indicate that Ukrainian forces have expanded their control zone from Tishchenkivka, following a localized counter-offensive toward Radkivka. As a result, a section of forest and nearby fields has come under Ukrainian control. Fighting continues northwest of Radkivka, in wooded areas and open terrain near the road connecting Kondrashivka and Kupiansk. Battles also persist west of Moskovka and inside Sobolivka, though no fresh updates have been reported from these two settlements. We continue to observe developments in this direction. Now let's move to the Kharkiv direction, toward Vchansk. At present, the Russian control zone appears as follows. All these territories have been cleared and are under full Russian control. Fighting is ongoing near Sinelnikova, north of Prilipka, and in the center of Vchansk. Russian forces are also advancing from the eastern outskirts of the city. FPV drone strikes are being carried out on Ukrainian positions in the settlements of Prilipka, Lyman, Sinelnikov, and Vilcha. However, compared to yesterday, no major territorial changes have been recorded. Fighting continues across the line of contact. Finally, we move to the Sumy direction near Alexeyevka. At this point, most of Alexeyevka has come under Ukrainian control, as only a limited Russian force remains there. Fighting continues on the northern outskirts of the settlement. Ukrainian units have transferred additional manpower into the area and are gradually pushing to retake it completely. As for Vorochin, it remains fully under Russian control, with ongoing battles south of the settlement, as Ukrainian forces were previously expelled following Russian counterattacks. Heavy fighting also continues north of Kondratovka, where Russian troops are advancing from the direction of Konstantinovka, and part of the territory has come under Russian control. Combat also continues northeast of Kondratovka, where FPV drones are striking Ukrainian positions in the settlements of Kondratovka and Andriivka. Zooming out eastward toward Yunikivka, the Russian control zone currently looks as follows. All these areas remain under Russian control. From the directions of Oleshna and Unikivka, Russian troops are continuing their offensive toward the settlement of Sadki. Fighting is taking place northeast of Sadki, within forested areas where Ukrainian fortifications, trenches and personnel are concentrated. This is where the most intense clashes are now occurring. FPV drones are also striking Ukrainian positions in Sadki, Maryin, and Kharkiv. Additionally, Russian forces are advancing from Yablunivka toward these settlements. Compared to yesterday, however, no significant territorial changes have been observed. Active fighting continues. That concludes today's update on the situation across all operational directions. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos and always stay informed about the latest developments and news.